What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I will be talking about 5 tips for players who haven't tried out this new iteration of the Ragnarok MMORPG. These are not only for new players or beginners, but also for players who wants to try out the nostalgic game from back in the day. After spending a few days playing this game, I realized that there are things that players needs to understand when playing the Ragnarok. And I think this should be discussed at the very beginning of the game in order to set the player's expectations moving forward. So without further ado, let's start my list with what I've mentioned earlier about this game. And that is, you need to set your expectations when playing this game. When it comes to the players who wants to play this game because of nostalgic reasons, you need to have an open mind when playing the Ragnarok, because this is not an apple-to-apple comparison to the original Ragnarok Online. If you are expecting that this will be the same as what we had back in the early 2000s, then you might be up for a rude awakening. And this is also the same for new players or for players that wants to try out what it was like to play the classic game back in the day. After spending a lot of time playing this game, I am going to be honest here. The only nostalgic part of this game are the visuals or the graphics that you see on screen. All the other aspects of the game, from gameplay and mechanics to the meta builds, are so different from what we were used to back in the day. You might be wondering, was I disappointed after learning those things? Yeah, pretty much. Because the main selling point for me when playing this game is to experience the classic Ragnarok that I grew up in. So for new players and for players who wants to play the game because of nostalgic reasons, you need to keep that in mind because this game has a lot of modern mechanics that you probably didn't expect. Moving on to the second tip on my list, which I already mentioned in the first item, and that is you need to learn the new gameplay and mechanics of this game. And this is where you lose the nostalgic feels when playing the Ragnarok. The gameplay and mechanics are more modern and similar to the MMORPGs in this generation. And I'm quite torn when it comes to this topic, because there are some modern mechanics that I like, and there are also some that I don't really like at all. The best and most prevalent example that I can give you is the character building in this game. In the Ragnarok, there is a specific build that is commonly used and that you need to use if you want to be efficient in grinding and farming. Note that I am not saying that this is a mandatory build, but if you are an F2P like me, being efficient in an MMORPG is one of the most important things that you need to do. The build that I'm talking about is what the players call the skill-based meta. If you don't know what this is, this means that you need to prioritize using your character's skills in order to grind monsters in the wilderness. What this does is that it kills the classic way of building characters from the original Ragnarok game. Back in the day, some jobs rely heavily on normal attacks as their build is reliant on their attack speed and critical damage. And to be honest, that is what I was expecting when I played this game. To hear the sound of the knight's two-hand quicken skill and hear the sound of the critical damage hitting the monsters. However, I was immediately hit with the reality that this is not how you build characters in this game. The main goal of the skill-based meta is to eliminate the monster in one hit and move on to the next target as soon as possible. And that is very efficient if I'm going to be honest. However, this build or meta is something that you usually see in modern MMORPGs, and not on the classic Ragnarok game. As you can see on the screen, I created a knight expecting that I can recreate the classic Agi Knight build. However, when I saw how bad that build is, and how slow it can farm monsters in the game, I didn't have a choice but to reset my build and follow the skill-based meta. Right now, my knight is spamming the bash skill in order to eliminate monsters in one hit, which if I'm going to be honest is really efficient, but quite boring for me, because I envisioned a different build when I created this character. And this is also the same for other jobs that usually use normal attacks in the classic game, Like the hunters are just spamming the double strafe skill, the assassins spamming the sonic blow, and the blacksmith is spamming the Mammonite skill. The main reason why this is the meta in this game is because it is more efficient, the skills can also use critical damage now, blue potions are so cheap, and the game even gave the players a 50M Zenny as their starting money in the game. So if you have the same expectation that I had when I first played this game, you might also get disappointed. You can still do the classic attack speed and crit build, but this will probably come in the later stages of the game, when you have better equipment and cards. Another thing that you need to anticipate in this game is that there are a lot of new dungeons and mechanics in improving your character. From your daily dungeons, bounty missions, hunting park, and endless tower, these are all modern iterations of the game. When it comes to the mechanics, there are now potion and food crafting, card fusion, card synthesis, and ancient equipments and so on. So there will be a learning curve when playing this game, even for seasoned players from back in the day. I will be posting some guides about some of the dungeons and mechanics in this game in later videos. So make sure to subscribe to the channel to get notified when those videos come out. Moving on to the third item on my list, and this is about time. What do I mean by that? The Ragnarok requires a certain amount of time or grind when playing this game. Now this is quite similar to the classic, because back in the day, everything is done manually, so you really need to spend some time in the game. However, in the Ragnarok, even though they have added modern mechanics and quality of life improvements, it still consumes a lot of your time when doing daily activities. One of the things that I really don't like about these daily activities is the bounty missions in the game. If you don't know what that is, every day you are tasked to complete 6 bounty missions to get rewards, such as XP, enhancing materials, and Zenny. The bounty missions are easy and straightforward, like eliminating a certain amount of monsters. However, when you open the bounty mission window, you are only given 3 missions at a time. You also have to take note that there are different mission tiers in the game, from normal, rare, and legendary. I would suggest that you only complete the rare and legendary missions, because they have higher rewards. But this is where the problem comes in. If you are so unlucky and the displayed bounty missions for your character are all normal, you need to use the refresh button. This is where my problem comes in. The cooldown of the refresh button takes hours before you can use it again. So basically, you can't really complete the bounty missions in one session, because if you got normal missions again after refreshing, then you have to wait for a few hours in order to use the refresh button again, which is quite weird and so time consuming. Another thing is that there is no combat time or limit when grinding in this game, so you can basically leave your character online for 24 hours to farm XP and cards that you need in-game, which leads to the sponsor of this video. You want to stay online 24/7 in this game, but don't want to use your phone or you don't have a computer to do it. UgPhone has got you covered. UgPhone is a cloud emulator that is perfect for AFK grinding. It is a cloud phone that runs independently in the cloud without consuming the memory or battery of your physical device. Even if you close the UgPhone app, your game will still continue to run in the cloud, which makes this the perfect app for AFK grinding for 24 hours, 7 days a week non-stop. You can also run multiple instances of UgPhone in one account, which allows you to play multiple games or accounts simultaneously. UgPhone is available in Google Play for Android, App Store for iOS, Windows Store for PC, and you can also use a web browser to run UgPhone. If you want to try out UgPhone, you can use my link shown in the description below. Note that when you are playing in the Southeast Asian region, make sure to select the Singapore servers. You can also use my invitation code, which gives you an extra 488 diamonds from UgPhone that you can use to extend your time in using the device. 12 diamonds is equal to an hour of an extension, so the 488 diamonds is an additional 40 hours in using the UgPhone cloud device. So thank you guys, and thank you UgPhone for the sponsor. Now let's get back to the video. Going back to our topic earlier, which is the time you spend in playing this game, you need to allot a certain amount of time when doing your daily activities, like collecting items from monsters or eliminating monsters in the world map. These missions usually take a lot longer since this game doesn't really have a spot where monsters spawn consistently. The spawn point of monsters are random, so your character will roam around the map just to complete these missions. At the same time, if you are an F2P, you need to complete your daily activities in order to maximize the rewards that can help progress your character. Moving on to my fourth tip, which is choosing a job that you want to play. This is very important because, as mentioned in my earlier tip, you will be spending a lot of time on your character when playing this game. So you want to pick a job that you will enjoy even if it takes you a ton of hours. At the same time, you have to remember that not all the jobs in this game are created equal. There are some jobs that are more F2P friendly, and there are some jobs that require a certain amount of investment in order to make it stronger or competitive, especially in the PvP aspect of the game. So selecting a job that caters to your playstyle and is in line with you being an F2P or a spender goes a long way in this game. I will probably create my list of jobs that are more F2P friendly in the upcoming days. So make sure to subscribe to get notified when that video comes out. And last but certainly not the least is to pick the right battle for you. What do I mean by this? I've said this on my review for this game. The Ragnarok is a pay-to-win MMORPG, and it is very unapologetic when it comes to its monetization system. It clearly favors whales and spenders in the game. So what I mean by picking the right battle for you, if you are an F2P, you need to revisit the first 4 tips that I have mentioned earlier in the video. You need to set expectations. Like, should I focus more on PvE or PvP? Or can I do both? You need to understand the gameplay and mechanics of the PvE and PvP aspects of the game. You need to spend a lot of time and effort in order to progress your character to be competitive in PvE or PvP. You need to pick the right job for the battle that you have chosen. Remember, there are jobs that are good in PvE and there are jobs that are good in PvP. So by keeping in mind these tips that I have given you, you will have a better understanding of what you are going into when you play this MMORPG. Hopefully, these tips was able to help you in your journey in this game. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want to see more The Ragnarok content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. GG!
You're a superhero.